The Buddhism Basics.
How much do you know about Buddhism? 70% of Americans don't know what Buddhism is. In a nationwide survey, only 0.7% of Americans self-identified themselves as Buddhist. This means most Americans aren't exposed to Buddhism in their day-to-day lives, like they would be with Abrahamic religions. This lack of exposure leads to a lack of understanding. Only 15% of Americans could pick out one of 4 noble truths in a multiple-choice list. Buddhism originated around 500 BC with Siddhartha Gautama. He was a sheltered prince that left his decadent home to experience the world. He was shocked by the suffering he encountered and set out to eliminate it. He was the first to reach true enlightenment, which is a state of inner peace or wisdom, and became Buddha. The word Buddha means enlightened. Originally, Buddha was only represented through symbols and art, either out of respect or because of the difficulty of giving aesthetic expression to the trans-decadent state he had attained.
Siddhartha Gautama identified 4 statements about the world we live in. He called them the 4 noble truths. Suffering exists, it has a cause, it has an end, and it has a cause to bring about its end. The first truth teaches that all beings, even the wealthiest kings or gods, will experience some physical or mental suffering. The cause of suffering is desire or ignorance. People desire what they do not or cannot have, and suffer when they do not attain it. Suffering can be escaped through enlightenment or nirvana. And finally, the 4th noble truth is the path to attaining enlightenment. Gautama devised a method for reducing or eliminating suffering in the world. His method was the Eightfold Path, which describes the way to end suffering, freeing the individual from attachments and delusions. The Eightfold Path is embracing the right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right thought, and right understanding. Right speech involves not partaking in talk that is malicious, harmful, untruthful, or mindless. Right action involves ethical deeds. One who follows the right action will not kill, steal, cheat, or take part in illegitimate activities.
Right livelihood means that a Buddhist will not make a living off of a business that harms the lives of other beings, human or animal. Right effort means consciously trying to keep a good state of mind while suppressing evil states of mind. Right mindfulness means being attentive and knowing one's own body, mind, feelings, and ideas. Right concentration means training one's mind to be fully aware and to discard positive and negative feelings and desires. Right thought is compassion, empathy, and love for all beings. Right understanding is grasping the 4 noble truths. The first 3 parts of the path, speech, action, and livelihood, deal with ethical conduct. The second 3, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, deal with mental discipline. The last 2, thought and understanding, deal with wisdom. The path offers practitioners an opportunity to live an ethical life and also a simplified life. Buddhists believe that there is a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It is a cycle of reincarnation called samsara. Every action in each life is either positive or negative, and these actions accumulate throughout multiple reincarnations. Karma, an accumulation of good or bad deeds, will determine where one is reincarnated. Good karma, an accumulation of good deeds, will allow for reincarnation in a higher realm. There are 6 levels or realms to reincarnation: the realm of gods, demigods, men, animals, ghosts, and hell. Gods experience the least suffering, and hell beings experience the most.
It is important to note that even gods cannot escape suffering. By following the Eightfold Path for enough reincarnations, one can become enlightened and achieve nirvana, the escape from suffering and the cycle of samsara. The word nirvana means blowing out or quenching. This is meant to express the extinguishment of the negative emotions and suffering that ties to the cycle of rebirth. The negative emotions include hatred, greed, and delusions. According to an expert on Buddhism, Daniel Kuhn, nirvana is not a particular place, but the experience of enlightenment, in which one experiences positive emotions like happiness, clarity, and peace. It is not a cessation of existence or the total dissolution of ego, but a radical change in consciousness and being. Early Buddhism did not focus on describing nirvana, but on attaining it. Only Buddhas or enlightened ones really know what nirvana is like.
The overarching theme of Buddhism is balance. Buddhism teaches its followers to deny self-indulgence, but also self-denial. In this way, Buddhism reflects the life of Siddhartha Gautama, avoiding the extremes and living a life of balance and inner peace. This is called practicing the middle way. This concept is similarly practiced across all versions of Buddhism, as it is practical for everyday life, regardless of one's level of devotion to the practice. Pure indulgence is unethical and invites suffering in the form of the consequences of greed. A life of self-deprivation or extreme monasticism is unsustainable, as one will not have the energy to live a fulfilling life that is able to seek enlightenment.
Due to its lack of deities and worship, some scholars consider Buddhism to be a way of life or spiritual tradition, rather than an organized religion. This makes it incredibly unique in comparison to major theistic religions, such as Christianity or Islam, because there is no higher power, rather an end goal for their practice, enlightenment. There are multiple versions of Buddhism, but each follow the same central principles.
Thank you for watching our video on Buddhism. We hope that you now have a better understanding of the traditions and practices that make up Buddhism.